I laughed when I first heard it, because no mother wants to believe something terrible about her own child. It happened at the grocery store. Two women whispered behind my back, glancing at me with pity. When I turned around, one of them hesitated, then said quietly, "You don't know about your son?" I felt a chill. "Know what?" I asked. She bit her lip. "Maybe it's not my place." That sentence stayed with me all day. My son, Daniel, was always quiet, polite, hardworking. A devoted husband. A loving father. At least, that's what I believed. When his wife stopped visiting family gatherings, he said she was busy. When neighbors avoided eye contact, I assumed it was coincidence. But that night, I couldn't sleep. What if the whispers were true? I told myself I was being paranoid. Mothers don't spy on their sons. Mothers trust. Still, something felt wrong. So the next morning, I made a decision I never thought I would make. I decided to watch him. I followed him discreetly for 3 days. On the first day, he left home early and returned late. On the second, he drove to places that made no sense, empty parking lots, abandoned buildings, unfamiliar neighborhoods. On the third day, I followed him to an old warehouse on the edge of town. My heart pounded as I parked across the street. I watched him unlock a side door and step inside. Minutes later, a woman arrived, not his wife. She looked scared. Then another man came. And another. Something illegal was happening. I was sure of it. I called his phone. He didn't answer. I sat frozen in my car, torn between fear and denial, until I heard shouting from inside the building. Then crying. A child's cry. That sound shattered me. I ran to the door and pushed it open. What I saw stopped me in my tracks. Inside the warehouse wasn't crime, it was chaos. Mattresses on the floor. Boxes of food. Children clinging to adults. My son stood in the middle, arguing with a man in a suit. "This place isn't safe anymore," the man snapped. "You're breaking the law." My son shouted back, "Then arrest me, but I won't put these families back on the streets." I didn't understand. Until my son saw me. His face went pale. "Mom, this isn't what you think." And he was right. It was far bigger. Daniel told me everything. For months, he had been secretly sheltering families who had lost their homes, undocumented immigrants, abused women, children with nowhere to go. The warehouse was temporary, hidden from authorities who would shut it down without offering help. The rumors? They were spread by people who wanted him stopped. "I didn't tell you," he said softly, "because I didn't want to scare you. Or disappoint you." Tears streamed down my face, not from fear, but from pride. I hugged my son as tightly as I could. The next week, the story went public. Not as a scandal, but as a movement. Volunteers came. Donations poured in. The city stepped in to help properly. The warehouse became a legal shelter. And I learned something important. Sometimes, the truth hides behind rumors. Sometimes, watching reveals more than judging. And sometimes, the person you fear disappointing you is actually becoming better than you ever imagined. If this story touched your heart, like and share it with someone who believes compassion still exists. Subscribe for more emotional stories filled with mystery, truth, and life lessons. And tell me in the comments, would you have followed him or trusted blindly?